We got a fresh new one, boys. We got a freshie here. We got a freshie with the young freshman. We got a young freshman here. Pause. No way. The meaning of life is not a problem to be solved. Let me just skim through these comments here. Let's see what we got going on, what we got ahead. Live for the experiences, good and bad. We don't know one without the other. That is true, the yin and the yang. Meaning does not exist in the world. We're the ones assigning meaning to things, just like our thoughts. It only exists inside our heads, but it's undeniably real thing. Same goes for the good and bad. Pretty ugly. We don't arbitrarily assign these systems to things, though. We do it based on certain criteria. What judgment a thing will receive also depends on the person judging it. Since we are all different, sometimes something can only be valuable, good, pretty, etc. according to someone. Some things will almost universally be agreed upon. Puppies are cute because we're all human and our brains work similarly. Other things would be more controversial because of our differences. Still, it's subjective. Objectively, the word just is. It exists, works the way it does, and things happen. God damn, homie. Because of other things that happened prior. You know what? Well, I might as well finish it. This includes us and the approximation of our judgments of the world. They are just as real as everything else, but they are not internal characteristics of the things they judge. Rather, a reflection of our own nature. Okay, I like that, but we're already 1 minute in, so we're gonna have to cut that there. Video came out today, only at 29,000 views from my good man's Einzelganger. Okay, we got some Albert Camus. Reminds me of Noel Miller. He said, "Ew, you're drinking cum powder." He said, "You're drinking cum powder." Ew! What the fuck? I'm sorry. Let me stop. That's so stupid. People probably don't get that. I gotta stick to the niche, okay? We're here for philosophy. This is philosophy stuff. I gotta leave. Well, no, I don't think I gotta put my own twist on it, right? Like, I can't be boring. It doesn't mean be boring and be like, here, like, well, here we have Albert Camus, and we're gonna talk about if life has no meaning, why live? Let's see this philosopher's take on this subject. Like, I gotta be me as well, right? And you know me, I'm the smartest dumb man alive. So, I gotta be, but let's go.
According to French-Algerian philosopher Albert Camus, our world has no ultimate meaning.
God damn, French-Algerian? That is quite the mixture, But the world has no ultimate meaning? Well, that's pretty obvious. Anybody can decipher that.
If it had, it would be impossible to know it. It's
objectively
all pretty pointless, as if the
has no
universe
meaning.
is nothing more than a cosmic coincidence, born without any specific goal or significance.
But according to, that podcast that I mentioned yesterday that I couldn't stop thinking about, it does seem that there's some tendencies there. You can see what the universe is kind of doing. It is sort of going somewhere. It does have a tendency to do things, right? I mean, you have the second law of thermodynamics. Things have a tendency to go towards chaos, for entropy, for things to be random, and they like that chaos. They have a tendency towards that, but open systems don't always. That's mainly just closed systems, I believe, and we are an open system, therefore we are trying to sort of escape chaos. We want as much order as possible, right? And well, it seems like, maybe the universe is trying to do something. Maybe we're here to do what we're doing and it's playing out the way it's going to play out because we're here to create some sort of technology that can stop the heat wave of the universe or something, right? We're here to create a new universe. We're here to create black holes. We're here to do something, maybe. But, I mean, he is right. It's probably impossible for us to know. I'm just saying, it's probably impossible.
For some, such a meaningless existence could lead to despair, and even worse. So it seems that, for many, meaning is necessary to live. And without meaning, life is not worth living.
Yes.
Humans crave purpose.
But you gotta give it.
No wonder that they massively subscribe to belief systems that provide it, even if what they provide isn't
Oh my
rationally.
god, yes, that is the thing about psychology. Motherfuckers just love to just subscribe to things, bro. That's one of the laws of power. You give people something to believe in, just leave the words very vague. Don't get too into details. You don't need to. But give them a cause to believe in and they'll follow you like a fucking... I can't think of an example of something that follows something. They'll follow you like your Instagram followers. I can't think of any example for some reason.
Inexplicable. Taking such a leap of faith, Albert Camus considered philosophical suicide.
Damn!
As we break
What is that?
reason and embrace a conviction just to answer the human desire for existential purpose when there isn't any. This discrepancy between the human impulse to ask ultimate questions and the impossibility of finding adequate answers, Camus called the absurd.
I feel this.
In a previous
I feel this all the
video
time.
about Albert Camus, we explored his philosophy of absurdism and ways to deal with a meaningless existence. This video focuses more on how to live in the face of life's absurdity, or more specifically, how to be an absurd man, or woman for that matter.
I want to be an absurd man? What does that mean? What do you mean, brother? If life is meaningless, why live?
Is a meaningless life worth living? According to Albert Camus,
depends on your definition of worth.
He believed we never live life fully if we keep looking for its meaning. His book, The Myth of Sisyphus, states, "People have played on words and pretended to believe that refusing to grant a meaning to life necessarily leads to declaring that it is not worth living. In truth, there is no necessary common measure between these two judgments." End quote. This human requirement for meaning, opposing an impersonal, cold, silent universe that doesn't provide us any hint of inherent meaning or purpose, aka the absurd, often drives people into escapism.
Is it not beautiful enough that we are the matter of the universe waking up? That we are a conscious matter. We are conscious matter. We are conscious of ourselves, and we're looking back at ourselves. We're looking back at the thing that we came out of. We're looking back at the universe. Like, yo, we just spawned from that. That created us. Like, we come out of that. Like, you're looking out into the cosmos, the space. You look anywhere. I mean, you're looking at yourself. You're looking at the thing that came out of the same thing that you came out of. I mean, we all were born from the universe. We all were born from Earth, really. Depends on, well, we all have a common ancestor like 2,000 years ago, but that's not the point. The point is, ain't it beautiful enough that we are stardust? That we are conscious stardust questioning itself? And it's almost like we're here to study ourselves. We're here to study where we came from. The universe is studying itself. You know, we're consciously experiencing and questioning things, and it's beautiful. I think we're a part of a system that we couldn't even fucking comprehend. I don't think so. I know so. I mean, prove me wrong. Like, clearly we're a part of something that we don't fucking understand that's greater than anything we could possibly comprehend with these monkey brains. We're a part of something insane that we have no idea what the fuck is going on. And we're a part of that. But, I mean, as far as we know right now, we don't really have to really worry about it. I'm going to worry about how to... We're going to go about our day, you know?
Some find their meaning in a religion that offers them not only the purpose of life, but also the origins of the universe, divine rules of conduct, and the possibility of reward in the afterlife. Others refuse to take the leap of faith, or their rational minds simply don't allow them to, but experience the subsequent void of pointlessness so unbearably that they decide to make away with themselves. The latter Camus considered the only serious philosophical problem. Camus distinguished two forms of suicide. On the one hand, physical suicide, and on the other, philosophical suicide.
I want to know about this one.
By escaping from the absurd, we either end up dead or as walking dead. The latter are individuals who exchanged the painful absurd truth for comforting substitutes. They are the blue-pilled masses, the sheep, fooling themselves and each other, existing under the veil of blissful ignorance. According to Camus, we should not give in to the absurd. Instead, we should accept the inherent meaninglessness of the universe and revolt against it. He stated,
"How do we revolt?
By the mere activity of consciousness, I transform into a rule of life what was an invitation to death, and I refuse suicide." End quote. Camus believed that a meaningless life is worth living if we remain aware of the absurd contradiction between the human craving for ultimate meaning and the universe's negligence in providing one. To flourish in the face of absurdity, we have to become absurd ourselves.
Well, because you make a distinction between man and the universe. Just saying.
To the absurd man, Camus ascribed three characteristics: revolt, freedom, and passion. First, the absurd man refuses to accept the invitation to death, as he doesn't commit physical or philosophical suicide. He entirely accepts the conflict between the human desire for meaning and the impossibility of finding ultimate purpose, and doesn't need any false, comforting substitutes.
But what are you talking about? An inability to find purpose? You can subjectively find it, man. Why do you want it to be just handed to you and given to you? Go fucking find it. Go choose. Go choose. Are you really acting like motherfucker? What? You're not gonna get it given to you. Go fucking figure it out. Go find it. What do you mean?
This conflict. He acknowledges that he cannot solve the conflict and doesn't wish to do so. And so he revolts against his own instinctive hunger for meaning, but also against the world, throwing all kinds of solutions at his face, sometimes even forcing him to commit to a belief system. An example of the absurd man in revolt is the character Meursault from Camus' book The Stranger. Meursault is a solitary individual who enjoys simple pleasures like swimming in the sea and being in the company of a woman named Marie.
Oh, that sounds great.
When his mother dies, he doesn't show grief.
Damn,
and
he's
when
a
an
stoic.
Arab man on the beach threatens him with a knife, he shoots him and doesn't show sorrow afterward. Meursault doesn't act in ways in which he doesn't feel inclined to act just to fit in with the rest, or because it's moral to do so. The people in his environment are disgusted by Meursault's lack of emotions, a personal trait weighed heavily when the judge sentences him to death. Ooh. While waiting for his execution, the prison's chaplain tries to convert him to Christianity, but Meursault refuses, as he embraces the world as it is.
The scientist involved in the Manhattan Project, he's like the smartest man alive, or something like that, because of his ability to do calculations in his head, which was like way above Einstein. That's what I heard from the podcast yesterday. Where it is, man transferred to the fucking. He transferred to Catholicism. How do you say that? To Catholicism. He became a Catholic on his deathbed. Fun fact, because of Pascal's wager, right? The guy couldn't think of the name, but I know what he's talking about. It's Pascal's wager, which is like, well, you have everything to gain and nothing to lose from accepting God, right? It's that wager that, like, well, you might as well because you have everything to gain and nothing to lose. So that's why he literally on his deathbed, he got like a priest in there or something, and he just literally converted. It's fucking crazy how that happened.
Meaningless, random, indifferent. In doing so, he revolts against the human thirst for an ultimate purpose. Although Meursault's life was ending, he died a free man, as in he didn't sell out to any artificial meanings or irrational belief systems. Camus wrote about the absurd man. He who, without negating it, does nothing for the eternal. Not that nostalgia is foreign to him, but he prefers his courage and his reasoning. The first teaches him to live without appeal and to get along with what he has. The second informs him of his limits. Assured of his temporarily limited freedom, of his revolt devoid of future, and of his mortal consciousness, he lives out his adventure within the span of his lifetime. End quote. There are many interpretations of what Camus meant by living without appeal, but from reading the myth of Sisyphus and his novels, he seems to point to an existence in which one doesn't engage in the absurd search for ultimate meaning. Living without appeal means embracing the here and now, acknowledging that there isn't anything to see for him beyond the mundane. No higher purpose or divine morals, no afterlife, nothing. It seems to be a life without the intention to appeal to anything more than the indifference, limitations, and meaninglessness we find in the ordinary. Such an existence may come across as nihilistic. With Meursault's character, Camus presents a nihilistic tragic hero who doesn't care about morality and just lives nihilistically, gratifying his sense.
A what hero? A nihilistic tragic hero? I mean, how is he a hero? Is it because he stood by his shit? Like, I think that's an honorable man. Because he was willing to go against the tide. He was willing to say, fuck what y'all think. I mean, this would 100% happen. Like, motherfuckers have to fit in and show emotion. Otherwise, motherfuckers are going to think, because of the way that they sort of... How do I say that? Like, they scan their environment and they scan, social people. If you're out here murdering somebody... and you show a lack of emotion, oh my god, who did this happen to? This happened to Amanda Knox? No, what? What was her name? This happened to a real person. Somebody went to jail. This real person, I forgot her name. I think her name was Amanda. No, I can't. There's no way I fuck her up like that. I think it was something like that. It was like in, I don't remember where it was, but this woman, I think Amanda Knox. Oh, I think it was something around that. I might be fucking something up there. I feel like I am. But like this woman, her roommate died. And then when the police instantly went and questioned her, he like instantly off the bat, off the jump, he had like some like serious like intuitions and like bad feeling about this girl, right? Like she seemed like she didn't care. She when she first saw the cop, she was like, I think she played a prank on him, or she like made a funny joke. She was like, she made like some corny ass joke, I think, something like that. Seemed like she didn't give a fuck about the fact that her friend had died, and that instantly just made the police officer suspect her. And therefore, she got put in jail for I don't know how long. I think it might have been a couple years. And turns out she never killed him. She never killed her roommate, right? And it's just like, that's what's crazy about it. Like, you gotta show emotion, otherwise, oh, this shit is gonna happen. It's happened. Marceau is a real person.
Who doesn't care about morality and just lives nihilistically, gratifying his senses. He sees no inherent meaning in
but
the
it's
universe.
also because I think she had a mental problem. It's not just that he's like she was a nihilistic tragic hero, I think.
Gratifying his senses. He sees no inherent meaning in the universe and manages to live happily without it.
Damn, I kind of aspire to be like this fucker.
Aside from the characters in his novels, Camus provided several examples of people he considered to have embraced the absurd in his book The Myth of Sisyphus. These examples illustrate how one could live in the face of meaninglessness, as Camus called it, without appeal. Although they might look like them, Camus probably didn't intend to present these examples as archetypes, as they're not models that one should strive to live by. They're just examples of absurd individuals. If one aims to live the absurd life, it's probably better to focus on why these people are absurd, instead of mirroring their actions. The Seducer.
The Seducer!
As his first example of the absurd man, Camus presents a well-known womanizer named Don Juan.
Don Juan! Yes, sir! Look at that piggy? That pig with a mustache? I can't wait to hear this story. They got my boy Don Juan, the Seducer. Let's hear this. A womanizer? Okay, Don Juan, teach me the ways.
Goes from woman to woman, using the same tactics for each woman he conquers,
and it works.
His whole life
Conquers.
Many people would consider the existence of an individual that revolves entirely around the conquest of short-term lovers as shallow.
Yeah.
How empty is someone's life who does the same thing repeatedly, and how significant is the risk of ending up alone and miserable with such a lifestyle?
Yeah.
Others believe that beyond the veil of Don Juan's actions hides a man's desperate search for true love. But these claims assume that Don Juan needs or looks for something beyond what he's already doing. His life's repetition, devoid of a higher purpose, must be an effort to ultimately attain that higher purpose, or perhaps a means of escaping from it. From the perspective that a fulfilled life requires meaning beyond the engagement in something banal, like repetitive seduction, using the same tricks and tactics, a figure like Don Juan is tragic. But, Camus argues, to Don Juan, the pleasure of seducing women and making love to them is enough. He lives for the moment and the joy of it.
Yo!
Moreover, the quantity of his partners doesn't mean that he doesn't.
That's enough? Yo, you know what? That doesn't even sound like a bad that doesn't even sound like a bad life, you know? If he's genuinely not like doing that because he's insecure, which I mean psychologically, you'd have to say if you're not Don Juan, every psychologist would tell you you're like trying to what do they say for people who have big trucks? Like you're trying to make up for something? Like you're trying to like you're trying to make up for something. Like you're trying to do all these things because you didn't feel love as a child. You know, you're with all these many people because you're looking for validation from them because you don't love yourself and you're looking for it in an external sense. And you had daddy issues, you had all of these things. I mean, I know somebody that's like this right now, right? I know somebody that's like Don Juan. It's a she. But, like, it's also like, Well, if I could be like Don Juan and I wasn't just psychologically like trying to make up for something, trying to compromise, not compromise, but like trying to, if I wasn't just doing it because of a lack, which usually that's what happens, right? Like, can you really do this without there being like, otherwise, why would you? Well, I guess you could honestly just do it because it feels good. Maybe you do just honestly just enjoy it and you're not just trying to fill a void. I guess that wouldn't be an impossibility, would it? Damn, that's a question and a half. Yeah, I kind of aspire to be like Don Juan now.
Love. He does love and gives his love to many. Does that make it less valuable than what people consider true love?
That's a good question. The actor.
The second example of the absurd individual comes in the form of a stage actor who made a career out of experiencing many lives intensely. The stage actor embraces at least two realities of life: that our lives are fleeting and that there's no point in aiming for long-lasting fame. As opposed to actors in films or writers whose works survive for millennia, the performances of stage actors will not be recorded for generations to enjoy. Their actions on stage only count in the present moment, and there will be no trace of them except within themselves and the people who observe them. And the stage actor doesn't mind that his actions aren't eternalized. After all, looking at the vastness of the universe and the limitlessness of time, even the works of the ancient philosophers won't survive. And thus, the ambition to leave a legacy is pretty pointless. Therefore,
you must be looking at it in a certain way. Like, you must be looking to a degree where you want your shit to last for 5 million years. I mean, them shits. I just quoted Seneca like last video, or yeah, like Seneca, motherfucker, fucking Plato. You talking about like them motherfuckers? The longer an idea has existed for, the longer it will actually exist in the future. It's a law, but it's also like that shit has lasted for a long time. I'd be happy if I could do anything that would last for 2,000 years. I would think that that's very successful. I don't know what kind of grounds you're really trying to look at it from, to the point where you're like, oh, well, it best survive until the heat death of the universe or something for it to be meaningful. Like, well, no, but I guess in a sense you are right. I guess maybe it don't matter how the exact longevity, well, or the, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Stage acting embodies the absurd life, which takes place in the present, for the moment, without appeal for anything beyond that. When we look at plays, movies and television series, we always see the critical moments of the characters' lives, the most passionate, emotional and dramatic events. And so, the actor lives the highlights of all these different lives passionately, within one lifespan, as opposed to the dull experience of one life, let alone a life spent chasing eternal happiness in the future, which often consists of following life-denying rules to purchase it. The actor lives the lives of people who aren't absurd like himself, but he lives them fleetingly. Paradoxically, by living many lives, the actor manages not to be tangled up in life. By keeping his distance, he doesn't fall into the trap of taking these lives too seriously. He realizes that we all play roles, and everything we do is futile. The difference between the absurd man and the rest is that the former knows it. Those who don't know, the majority of people, have conditioned themselves to pretend, and their pretense is no pretense, but serious business. It amounts to something. But it doesn't, unless we follow some belief telling us it does, according to the absurdist philosophy. The absurd individual, in the form of an actor, is aware of the absurd, but embraces the characters' lives. He is pretending, enjoying the process, the momentary appreciation of the audience, and thus affirming life by living many lives. Still, he sees the drama, the rules we cast upon ourselves, and the meaning we ascribe to our existence as a big joke. The Conqueror.
A joke?
The
Are you the joke?
Camus describes lives an absurd life because she's
Another
fully
one?
aware of the futility of her actions, but engages in
it's a
life
she.
because she's
Oh, so this is the opposite of Don Juan? We have Doña Juana?
fully aware of the futility of her actions, but engages in them nonetheless. She doesn't spend time contemplating and doesn't concern herself with the afterlife or higher ideals. She lives for the world her senses perceive, namely the here and now. absurd conquerors know that their actions are ultimately pointless. They'll never conquer fate, and any change they make in the world will eventually be undone. The empires of old, forged with the blood of many, have all ceased to exist. Fighters for social justice might progress in their time, but their accomplishments will perish in the long run. Fate wins every time, and the ultimate fate of all is destruction. The great silence after a brief, insignificant moment of liveliness somewhere in a dark corner of the universe. Hence, the conqueror acts as if her goal isn't victory, although it would be nice. Her goal is to conquer herself, experiencing the triumph over her body and mind again and again. The conqueror wants to feel strong through victory after victory, and thus seeks to live life at a high level. The friendships on the battlefield, the close relationships formed during conflict, she holds dear as they're intense and passionate. According to Camus, the absurd conqueror chooses the sword over the cross, as the former concerns what's certain and the latter is just a matter of hope and belief.
Damn!
I quote, "There always comes a time when one must choose between contemplation and action. This is called becoming a man.
Tell him
Such
again.
wrenches are dreadful, but for a proud heart there can be no compromise. There's God or time, that cross or this sword. This world has a higher meaning that transcends its worries, or nothing is true but those worries. One must live with time and die with it, or else elude it for a greater life."
Alluded, and what's the greater life?
The seducer, the actor, and the conqueror all play the absurd. They live in the present, lucidly, without hope. Being without hope isn't the same as being hopeless, says Camus. Hopelessness is a form of despair that results from being unable to embrace the absurd, being without the thing one desperately craves. However, being without hope can be a pleasurable experience, according to Camus, if we acknowledge that it's all pointless, but live life intensely nonetheless. Thank you for watching.
That was mad romantical.